So we got a huge bombshell piece written in Politico by Donna Brazile, former DNC interim chair, and she basically gave us an inside account as to how the DNC and Hillary Clinton rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders. And this is absolutely huge. So we're going to go and read through the entire article. But before I do that, I just want to show you some of the headlines that this revelation has generated. So from The Hill, we have the DNC owes Bernie Sanders and all Democrats an apology. We have headline from the Daily Beast here. Donna Brazile, I found proof that Hillary Clinton rigged the race against Bernie. Wow. We have CNN, former DNC chair torches Clinton in new book. So really, big headlines. This is huge. So first and foremost, before we dive into the article, because there's so much details here, I just want to really reach out to people who called us conspiracy theorists and said that we should put on tinfoil hats. What do you have to say now that the former DNC interim chair, Donna Brazile, basically is admitting here that the primary was rigged? What do you have to say now? Are you going to apologize to us? I will wait for my inbox to fill up with apologies, but we all know that's not going to happen. But, just the fact that we are proven right more so every day, I think that's important. Now, let's all be clear here. It's obvious that Donna Brazile, she has a book coming out very soon, and the timing of this piece, it's pretty obvious that she is trying to generate a lot of attention about her book, but nonetheless, if you're going to tell the truth, then I'm on your side. So credit where credit is due. You all know I have my problems with Donna Brazile, and rightfully so, but if she's willing to tell the truth here, then I'm willing to listen, and I actually, I'm proud of her for telling the truth here in an area that doesn't make the DNC, her friends, an organization that she now works for, again, look very good. So the title of the article is called Inside Hillary Clinton's Secret Takeover of the DNC. When I was asked to run the Democratic Party after the Russians hacked our emails, I stumbled onto a shocking truth about the Clinton campaign. Now, I'm not going to focus on the Russia nonsense, but let's try to extrapolate what she's saying about the DNC. So she states here, before I called Bernie Sanders, I lit a candle in my living room and put on some gospel music. I wanted to center myself for what I knew would be an emotional phone call. I had promised Bernie when I took the helm of the Democratic National Committee after the convention that I would get to the bottom of whether Hillary Clinton's team had rigged the nomination process, as a cache of emails stolen from Russian hackers and posted online had suggested. I'd had my suspicions from the moment I walked in the door of the DNC a month or so earlier, based on the leaked emails. But who knew if some of them might have been forged? I needed to have solid proof, and so did Bernie. So I followed the money. My predecessor, Florida Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, had not been the most active chair in fundraising at a time when President Barack Obama's neglect had left the party in significant debt. As Hillary's campaign gained momentum, she resolved the party's debt and put it on a starvation diet. It had become dependent on her campaign for survival, for which she expected to wield control of its operations. Debbie was not a good manager. Wow. Debbie was not a good manager. She hadn't been very interested in controlling the party. She let Clinton's headquarters in Brooklyn do as it desired, so she didn't have to inform the party officers how bad the situation was. That's huge. Debbie Wasserman Schultz basically allowed Hillary Clinton. See, this is a huge admission here. How much control Brooklyn had and for how long was still something I had been trying to uncover for the last few weeks. By September 7th, the day I called Bernie, I had found my proof, and it broke my heart. So understand here, she initially said that she wanted to get to the bottom as to whether or not the DNC did rig the primary, as the WikiLeaks email suggested, and she said on September 7th, she found her proof. She's admitting that the DNC did in fact rig the primary. This is her word. She's using the term rigged, which people accused me of being too hyperbolic for using that word. We have Donna Brazile admitting, yeah, she found proof that the primary was rigged. This is huge. For the former interim DNC chair to admit this, it's gigantic. So she continues here. This Saturday morning after the convention in July, I called Gary Gensler, the chief financial officer of Hillary Clinton's campaign. He wasted no words. He told me the Democratic Party was broke and $2 million in debt. What? I screamed. I'm an officer of the party, and they've been telling us everything is fine, and they were raising money with no problems. That wasn't true, he said. Officials from Hillary's campaign had taken a look at the DNC's books. Obama left the party $24 million in debt, $15 million in bank debt, and more than $8 million owed to vendors after the 2012 campaign, and had been paying that off very slowly. Obama's campaign was not scheduled to pay it off until 2016. Hillary for America, the campaign, and the Hillary Victory Fund, its joint fundraising vehicle with the DNC, had taken care of 80% of the remaining debt in 2016 and about $10 million and had placed the party on an allowance. Sorry about that. So Obama drained the DNC. So she continues here. If I didn't know about this, I assumed that none of the other officers knew about it either. That was just Debbie's way. In my experience, she didn't come to the officers of the DNC for advice and counsel. She seemed to make decisions on her own and let us know at the last minute what she had decided, as she had done when she told us about the hacking only minutes before the Washington Post broke the news. On the phone, Gary told me the DNC had needed a $2 million loan, which the campaign had arranged. No, that can't be true, I said. The party cannot take out a loan without the unanimous agreement of all of the officers. Gary, how did they do this without me knowing? I asked. I don't know how Debbie relates to the officers, Gary said. He described the party as fully under the control of Hillary's campaign. Again, this is Gary Gensler. He is describing the party or the DNC as fully under control of Hillary's campaign. Wow. This is the chief financial officer of Hillary Clinton's campaign. So, a higher up from Hillary's campaign described this as the party fully under control of Hillary's campaign, which seemed to confirm the suspicions of the Bernie camp. The campaign had the DNC on life support, giving it money every month to meet its basic expenses, while the campaign was using the party as a fundraising clearinghouse. Under FEC law, an individual can contribute a maximum of $2,700 directly to a presidential campaign, but the limits are much higher for contributions to state parties and a party's national committee. Individuals who had maxed out their $2,700 contribution limit to the campaign could write an additional check for $353,400 to the Hillary Victory Fund. That figure represented $10,000 to each of the 32 states' parties who were part of the Victory Fund agreement, $320,000 and $33,400 to the DNC. The money would be deposited in the states first and transferred to the DNC shortly after that. Money in the battleground states usually stayed in that state, but all the other states funneled that money directly to the DNC, which quickly transferred the money to Brooklyn, Hillary's campaign. Wow. So we're getting into the money laundering effort that we knew about, that Politico reported on, I believe, last year. Wait, I said, she continues. That victory fund was supposed to be for whoever was the nominee and the state party races. You're telling me that Hillary Clinton had been controlling it since before she got the nomination? Gary said the campaign had to do it in order. The campaign had to do it, or the party would collapse. Wow. That was the deal that Robbie struck with Debbie, he explained, referring to campaign manager Robbie Mook. It was to sustain the DNC. We sent the party nearly $20 million from September until the convention, and more to prepare for the election. What's the burn rate, Gary? I asked. How much money do we need every month to fund the party? The burn rate was 3.5 million to 4 million a month, he said. I gasped. I had a pretty good sense of the DNC's operations after having served as interim chair 5 years earlier. Back then, the monthly expenses were half that. What happened? The party chair usually shrinks the staff between presidential election campaigns, but Debbie had chosen not to do that. She had stuck lots of consultants on the DNC payroll, and Obama's consultants were being financed by the DNC too. When we hung up, I was livid. Not at Gary, but at this mess I had inherited. I knew that Debbie had outsourced a lot of the management of the party and had not been the greatest at fundraising. I would not be that kind of chair, even if I was only an interim chair. Did they think I would just be a surrogate for them, get on the road and rouse up the crowds? I was going to manage this party the best I could and try to make it better, even if Brooklyn, Hillary's campaign, did not like this. It would be weeks before I would fully understand the financial shenanigans that were keeping the party on life support. Okay, so we have an image for her book title right here. So I'm now 100% sure that, this was released as a means of promoting her book. But anyways, she continues. Right around the time of the convention, the leaked emails revealed Hillary's campaign was grabbing money from the state parties for its own purposes, leaving the states with very little to support down ballot races. I'm going to read that again because this is really important. Hillary's campaign was grabbing money from state parties. She was draining their parties because she cared more about winning than she cared about down ballot races. That is huge. A Politico story published on May 2nd of 2016 described the big fundraising vehicle she had launched through the states the summer before, quoting a vow she had made to rebuild the party from the ground up. When our state parties are strong, we win. That's what will happen. Turns out, Hillary didn't really believe that because she was draining the state parties. Again, this is huge. I cannot believe Donna Brazile is admitting this. Wow. She is throwing Hillary Clinton under a bus. Wow. Yet the states kept less than half of 1% of the 82 million they had amassed from the extravagant fundraisers Hillary Clinton's campaign was holding, just as Gary had described to me when he and I talked in August. They kept less than half of 1%. My mind is blown. And understand, I've read this article. This is the fourth time I've read it. And I'm still blown away by all the revelations in it. Wow. When the Politico story described this arrangement as essentially money laundering for the Clinton campaign, Hillary's people were outraged at being accused of doing something shady. Bernie's people were angry for their own reasons, saying this was part of a calculated strategy to throw the nomination to Hillary. I wanted to believe Hillary, who made campaign finance reform part of her platform, but I had made this pledge to Bernie and did not want to disappoint him. I kept asking the party lawyers and the DNC staff to show me the agreements that the party had made for sharing the money they raised, but there was a lot of shuffling of feet and looking the other way. When I got back from a vacation in Martha's Vineyard, I at last found the document that described it all. The joint fundraising agreement between the DNC, the Hillary Victory Fund, and Hillary for America. The agreement, signed by Amy Dacey, the former CEO of the DNC, and Robbie Mook with a copy to Mark Elias, specified that in exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy, and all the money raised. Her campaign had the right of refusal of who would be the party communications director, and it would make financial decisions on all the other staff. The DNC also was required to consult with the campaign about all other staffing, budgeting, data analytics, and mailings. This is gigantic. Hillary Clinton basically controlled the DNC. Now, this wouldn't be surprising had she already won the nomination, but the timing is where we really see the smoking gun here. So Brazile continues, I had been wondering why it was that I couldn't write a press release without passing it by Brooklyn, Hillary's campaign. Well, here was the answer. When the party chooses the nominee, the custom is that the candidate's team starts to exercise more control over the party. If the party has an incumbent candidate, as was the case with Clinton in 1996 or Obama in 2012, this kind of arrangement is seamless because the party already is under the control of the president. When you have an open contest without an incumbent and competitive primaries, the party comes under the candidate's control only after the nominee is certain. When I was manager of Al Gore's campaign in 2000, we started inserting our people into the DNC in June. This Victory Fund agreement, however, had been signed in August 2015, just 4 months after Hillary announced her candidacy and nearly a year before she officially had the nomination. Wow! This is why it seemed as though the DNC was tipping the scales in favor of Hillary Clinton. Because she was controlling everything. Wow. This is huge. This is absolutely gigantic. I had tried to search out any other evidence of internal corruption that would show that the DNC was rigging the system to throw the primary to Hillary, but I could not find any in party affairs or among the staff. Okay, Donna, now you're being disingenuous. But you know, she gave us this huge admission that the DNC was under Hillary's control, so this is still huge in spite of her denying everything else. She continues, I had gone department by department investigating individual conduct for evidence of skewed decisions, and I was happy to see that I had found none. She's discounting the debates and everything, so, you win some, you lose some. At least she's admitting this because, we didn't know the extent to which Hillary's campaign was in control of the DNC because Obama and Debbie had bankrupted it. So Hillary made this agreement with them to basically help fund them, put them on this really starvation diet, but be in control of everything. This is huge. The funding arrangement with Hillary for America and the Victory Fund agreement was not illegal, but it sure looked unethical. If the fight had been fair, one campaign would not have control of the party before the voters had decided which one they wanted to lead. This was not a criminal act, but as I saw it, it compromised the party's integrity. You don't say. I had to keep my promise to Bernie. I was in agony as I dialed him. Keeping this secret was against everything that I stood for, all that I valued as a woman and as a public servant. Hello, Senator. I've completed my review of the DNC and I did find the cancer, I said, but I will not kill the patient. I discussed the fundraising agreement that each of the candidates had signed. Bernie was familiar with it, but he and his staff ignored it. They had their own way of raising money through small donations. I described how Hillary's campaign had taken it another step. I told Bernie I had found Hillary's joint fundraising agreement. I explained that the cancer was that she had exerted this control of the party long before she became its nominee. Had I known this, I never would have accepted the interim chair position. But here we are with only weeks before the election. Bernie took this stoically. He did not yell or express outrage. Instead, he asked me what I thought Hillary's chances were. The polls were unanimous in her winning, but what he wanted to know was my own assessment. I had to be frank with him. I did not trust the polls, I said. I told him I had visited states around the country and I found a lack of enthusiasm for her everywhere. I was concerned about the Obama coalition and about millennials. I can't believe she's admitting this. This is huge. I urged Bernie to work as hard as he could to bring his supporters into the fold with Hillary and to campaign with all the heart and hope he could muster. He might find some of her positions too centrist and her coziness with the financial elites distasteful, but he knew, and I knew, that the alternative was a person who would put the very future of the country in peril. I knew he heard me, I knew he agreed with me, but I never in my life had felt so tiny and powerless as I did making that call. When I hung up the call to Bernie, I started to cry, not out of guilt, but out of anger. We would go forward. We had to. Wow. Oh, okay, so it says it right here. This is an excerpt from her book. So it's clearly to promote her book. Well, certainly this, I had to think twice about whether or not I would buy your book, Donna. I won't, but, I thought about it for a second. This is mind-blowing. The extent to which this is a bombshell cannot be overstated. It can't. And I'm going to tell you the response from other party officials, but wow. Every time I read through this, I am left speechless. It was rigged from the very beginning. We were right, and all of the Clintonistas who said we were being conspiratorial. What's your response now? Now, I wanna go back to a tweet from Peter Dow that didn't age too well. Reminder, he said this in April of 2017. Anyone on the left claiming the primary was rigged against Bernie is engaging in a sexist trope and gets an instant block. Looks like Donna Brazile is sexist. So Donna Brazile admitting that Hillary Clinton was given the keys by Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and she capitalized on the DNC's debt, and she decided that she was just going to take control of it and fund it, put them on this starvation diet, like Donna Brazile said, and make sure she was in control of everything. So nobody else who would step up to challenge her even had a chance. And this agreement was formed in August of 2015. That's the biggest part. That's the smoking gun, the timing of this agreement. So, again, kudos to Donna Brazile. Clearly, she played her part in tipping the scales against Bernie by trying to give Hillary Clinton an unfair advantage herself by leaking a town hall question to her campaign in advance. So I still don't think this should permit her to serve on the Rules Committee, but certainly she earned a little bit more of my respect for admitting something that would clearly get her a lot of backlash among her own peers. I think that this is, a courageous thing to do, but that's as far as I'll go in complimenting Donna Brazile, because she's guilty for her own reasons, but wow. It was rigged from the very beginning, and we are still finding out just how rigged it was. We knew it was rigged before WikiLeaks, but then we got evidence. We knew it was rigged after WikiLeaks, certainly, and now we have even more evidence. There's no question. The fact that the primaries were rigged in 2016 is now undeniable. And at this point, with all the evidence we have, anyone who continues to deny that, they're lying. They're a liar. It's not just ignorance anymore. The evidence is out there. If you continue to deny this, you're a liar. So, huge revelation from Donna Brazile, of all people, who I would have never expected to tell the truth. Man.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.